Hi, my name is Sunil, and welcome to step 2 of 8 on your journey towards understanding how to create an AI strategy. At least these are my steps. Everybody has the different way of doing things. So here we go along. So the framework that I particularly use is called V.I.S.A, which is value, impact, scalability, and availability of data. Now, whenever you choose a strategy, an AI strategy, you need to ensure that the strategy at the end of it has a goal attached to it, like we've already covered in the previous video. I've gone into the depth of it, so you should try to see it. But also, it has a value that is tangible, measurable, and also makes sense for the business to continue to invest as you realize the value at the end of the proof of concept or at a particular stage of the life cycle. The next aspect is impact. Now, what is the impact to business, right? Is it increased sales? Is it increased profitability? Are you helping save costs? Are you helping to improve NPS scores, etc.? So we've looked at a few impact case studies in the previous slides, in the previous lectures. But in this case, you start to look at the ones that are creating the maximum impact with the least amount of effort, right? So you always try to maximize your impact delivery with as least effort as possible. Well, there is a fair chance you might not always be lucky to have such use cases. So you come to the next bucket, which is more about having a moderate impact, a moderate kind of a complexity where you now need to invest in proof of concepts. But when you choose that, ensure it is between 4 to 6 or 4 to 8 weeks. Anything beyond that becomes a full-fledged cycle, and then business starts to get slightly jittery, starts to get slightly worried about investing a lot of money, but then not receiving updates or inputs from the team at a frequent interval, because these things do take time. The next is scalability. Great, you have a use case, you now have impact, you're starting to do things, you're starting to deliver value, but then is this going to scale? Do you have the capacity to then scale this to a larger data set? Right now, you're just keeping it very narrow. When you start with, of course, as a proof of concept, if you started that way, but do you have the capacity then to take it from a small proof of concept into a higher, larger dimension? So maybe you're starting to train with 1 million data sets. Can you scale this to 100, 200, 500 million data points? Do you have the capacity? Is there an avenue for this use case to even go that beyond? The next aspect is about data. Uh, Again, like I said, do you have the right data to even run your use case? If you're sitting on a data and you're going to think about doing feature engineering on things that you don't even have from the get-go, that use case is something that you should not even invest in right now, while somebody else tries to figure out a data strategy to implement your use cases. Don't even get into starting your use case and then trying to figure out about the data, because when you go to a business person, when you talk to them about the use case, and then you disappear for a month or two trying to produce data or trying to munch data, uh, it's definitely going to piss off a lot of business people, because they expect results, of course, because they're investing the money, they're investing time, resources, etc. So they need results, or they need regular updates. And if the updates are just about, oh, we've now done this feature engineering, or we've gone ahead and produce this data, or we've got this data set, now we're going to do the training, they don't understand any of that. While it's important, but they don't understand any of that. So you need to figure out a strategy, you need to figure out use cases that have value or have good impact, which is you're able to turn things around quickly, is scalable once the proof of concept is successful, and then you have the data available for that use case, without which it's advisable never to get into that use case right now. First step then is to prepare the data and then kickstart the use case, right? So that's the V.I.S.A strategy. Moving ahead, I want to go deeper into value, which is the V part of the V.I.S.A. Like I said, measurable business metrics. It has to have quantifiable outcomes. Once I do this, your performance will improve by so and so. Or when we do this in a particular bucket or a particular segment of your data, I'm going to see that this score will either improve or decrease depending upon what you're looking at. And of course, before you get into any of the use cases, you need to have a leadership buy-in, without a sponsor, it's impossible to do anything around AI. So that's a key element of an AI strategy. The next, if you want to go deeper into impact, Try to figure out a sweet spot, or figure out something that could be a pilot. So if it's a sweet spot where, with less complexity, with you're able to produce high impact, yes, there are use cases, but they may not be so scalable. So we have to also be cognizant of the fact, what happens when you deliver this? Is it able to be scaled or not? When you get onto pilot candidates, how are you measuring success around that? What is the effort to build the pilot? What team? What strength do you need? What skill set do you need? A lot of that has to be thought through. And then there is a avoid zone, which is very high complexity. You need a lot of data. You may or may not have it, but also the value that you derive from it, or the impact that you create out of it, is something that it may not serve the purpose. So the cost does not justify, or the profit does not justify the cost. So look at it that way, right? And for every use case, it's better to have a rating of 1 to 5, 1 to 10, whatever you choose, right? This is just a scale and number, or maybe P0, P1, P2, or maybe high, medium, low. So it depends. But never get into starting AI strategy or getting into use case design without understanding the impact and the effort needed to implement that use case. Moving ahead, scalability, like I've already covered. How scalable is your solution? Is it possible that you take it on a small segment and then you scale it across to a larger segment? What do you do about aspects of selecting the data from a population, or selecting a sample from the population? Is it a true representation, etc.? When that now starts to scale, what kind of metric would you have in mind that tells you that the scaling is not working, on which just means then you have to get back to the drawing board and then start to train it all over again, now with a larger data set? And these do happen. There's nothing wrong about it. But if you don't measure this, your customers will start to tell you that it's not working, right? So when you start to scale, first, does it have scalability? Second, if it scales, well, what is the metric? What are you looking at when it scales? What metric has to tick for you to be confident that the scaling is working? Another thing is, when you're building this, don't try to silo yourself into a particular department. See if you can elaborate this, or you can have some abstraction around making it used for another department or another team or another aspect of your business. Again, it depends, and may or may not be possible. This is something that you'll have to evaluate as you're picking up your use case. And like I said, feedback loop should always be there, without which you don't even know that your scalability or your scaling is working or not. Moving on to the availability of data. Like I said before, now data could be from different sources. Data could be seasonal. Data could also be around, coming in the form of a bulk of data, a stream data. You could look at data that changes in a particular segment. There's a lot of variation for a segment. There is less variation for another segment, so on and so forth, right? So, for example, if it's an e-commerce data, you would look at a lot of transactions between a particular age group, but compared to a higher age group or a lower age group, right? So you'll have to keep a lot of that in mind. What the quality of your data is, you need to be aware of. Is it clean, or would you have to spend that time in cleaning? And if you have to spend that time in ensuring quality and cleanliness, it's better to first get your data sorted out and then kickstart your use case journey. If you do it together, your use case will take more time, and your sponsor will start to run out of patience. And this happens many times. That's the reason why a lot of AI projects also do fail. Do you have sufficient volume? For example, you may just have a very small set of that, and when you try to scale, you may not have that data at that scale. So, well, the POC work, now when you try to scale, it's a disaster, right? And the sample, like I spoke earlier, the sample is a true representation of the population. Again, this is very theoretical. It may or may not be always, but does it have a good overlap with your population? That's something that you should look at. There are several techniques that you could look at. We can get into it if you guys are interested. You could leave a comment in the comment box. I'll be happy to talk more about it if you're interested. So that's how you get into the availability of data side of things. That becomes the foundation of your entire AI strategy. Moving on, I covered this in my previous video. Do not go with a problem mindset or a problem first mindset. You should start looking at it, or don't go with a tool mindset first. You should go with a problem mindset and start with pilot first. No matter whatever happens, do not ever bet all your money on a particular use case without doing a pilot. And have a very, again, this might look like repeat, but have a very clear goal. If you don't know what you're measuring, any value that comes in looks like success, and that may be misleading, and it'll take you to a path of disaster. You need to have a prototype or a proof of concept or a pilot in a fixed time box manner. 4 to 6 weeks or 4 to 8 weeks is max. Anything beyond that, business will start to get slightly fidgety. They'll start to get a little impatient. So better to set expectations from get-go. Talk to them about this and keep them regularly updated about what's going on and where you are. If you have small micro wins, share it with them. They'll be very happy to participate and also give slight feedback, right? And also, when you choose a pilot, and particularly a pilot that you now want to scale in the future, figure out what happens if the scaling fails. Is there a way to roll back? Is there a way to now introduce humans in the loop? So a lot of this has to be kept in mind when you're choosing a pilot, when you're choosing a AI strategy or a AI use case. So coming back, what's an anatomy of a great first AI use case? Problem definition has to be very clear. Again, like I said in the past, you need to have targets that are measurable. You just cannot keep it vague. You need to have a quick time to value, which means your cycle should be 4 to 6 weeks, 4 to 8 weeks max. Anything beyond that, you start to deteriorate value pretty soon because business starts to get impatient. And you need to keep in mind the data readiness. Without data, without it being in a state that can be consumed for your training purposes, your AI use case will definitely take a lot of time. Now, whether it be AI, ML, whatever, right? So your sciences use case will take longer than what you expect it to be. What are some red flags to avoid? Covered this in the past, but I just want to cover it and want to give it a special slide or a special area. Tool first thinking. Just because I have GPTs or LLMs or this or that or cloud or whatever it is that you have, let's try to use this somehow to meet our business goals, right? No. Start with the use case, start with what you're going to do, work backwards from a goal rather than move forward to a goal. If you work backwards from a goal and figure out the steps needed, you will arrive at the data that you need. And if you walk that path, your probability or odds of success increase. Next is if you do this without a owner, without a particular sponsor, or without somebody who really cares about this, and you just continue to do it because it's a fun side project, it's going to fail. It's not going to work. You would have wasted a lot of time, money, resources, everything, right? And definitely respect as well. Credibility. And vague outcomes. Have a very fixed goal. This is what we're going to do. This is where we're going to be in 2 months. This is the metric that we're going to move, and this is how we're going to measure it, right? So call that out very clearly. And if you do all of this and you don't have a safety net, which means if there is no human fallback mechanism, should something go wrong in production, that AI strategy is a failure anyways, even if it has started delivering value in a small prototype or a small proof of concept, or even if it starts to scale. Like I said, when you scale, you need to know about data drift. You need to know about model drift, depending upon if you're doing this in time series and whatnot. You need to be aware of a lot of this and keep that in mind, monitor it regularly, have alerting mechanisms to page you when things go wrong so that your humans in the loop can happen. Otherwise, your humans will get in the loop after your customers complain, and that's a situation you don't want to be in. So with that, I end this step 2 of AI use cases. In the next step, we will go deeper into data. If you like such content, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please add comments or ask questions in the comments if you want to. And when you subscribe, please don't forget to hit the bell icon so that you get notified whenever the new video comes out. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.